crazy. And you know what's really interesting to me is that depending on where we are, where I am, the lighting is different. I am sitting in front of my window. Oh, wait, we're live.
Ricky, you're literally in the dark.
I
Look at
know.
the
Well,
difference of lighting, but you're not in the dark. So hi,
I'm not.
everyone.
But I am in Seattle this week, which is so I am in the cold, dark, wet. It's not
Very
sweater
apropos.
season. Yeah. So I'm in a big fluffy sweater, big fluffy hair. Everything's frizzy and everything's dark.
I solved for the armpit situation from last week by wearing sleeveless. So look at us learning, moving, and shaking.
Yeah, we're going to get my lighting right one of these days. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Shit in a Skirt. I'm Ricky Pozzanelli. I am a growth strategist and the founder of the Make Partnership.
I'm Carrie Lynn Shaw, and I'm the founder of the Salary Bump, helping people shake up their lives, flip their careers on their head, and make more money.
Money, money, money. Okay, so why are we here? What are we doing today? What are we talking about?
You know, last week was such a wonderful inaugural episode. And we talked about, and we will always talk about, one good conversation changing your life. It can change your life, can change your confidence. And this is why we started this show. And today's a follow-up because last week we talked about networking. And today's about gratitude. Of course, it's that time of year, but it's about not just gratitude. It's also about follow-up and why those small moments can literally change and open the biggest doors that people just don't realize.
So last week we shared tons of tips and tools, and today
trips and tools.
Did I say trips and tools? Yes, I did.
Tips, tricks, tools, and all the teas.
More coffee, less sweaty pits. Last week was it was our inaugural episode. It was about networking and relationship building and connecting. But the reality is there's a much deeper part of that. And we want to drill down on that because there was a recent situation, actually for both of us, that happened this week. And we got to talking about manners and gratitude. And we were a bit fired up, if I'm being really honest. But
you or I was.
Well, I'm
got a bit in my craw.
I'm being diplomatic, but there was some high pitchiness on a call we had earlier in the week.
Yeah,
right?
Bitchiness in a positive way because it was something that just got into my in my craw. And before you start this story, the irony of this story was what you're about to tell happened while we were together in Chicago, and you showed me a text. And I cannot wait for you to share this story because it is so impactful and so powerful, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives. Go, hit it.
Okay, I'm going. I'm not even going to take a sip of coffee. Okay, so the first thing I want to say to all of you and to anybody who's listening, I keep a thank you folder. So any notes that I get from anyone go into this folder so that I can pull them out and remember why I do what I do. It brings me so much joy. The one thing I will say before I get into this is while I love an email and I print them out, there's nothing I love more than a beautiful card that comes in the mail. And this one is from our friend Dougie Fresh. But I'm just sharing that to say that I do keep them and they do matter and it does make a difference. So here's my story. In the darkness. So someone from the Outlier Project gave me a call asking for advice and asking for very, very specific advice on what it's like to be a creative. How do I get more business? How do I write a proposal? Like very, very specific questions, which I actually really appreciated. After the call, he sent a quick thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time. But in my LinkedIn DMs, I don't know, a month later, I got this note and I'm going to read it because I think it's important. I wanted to update you on how things are going. I've gotten a lot of interest in video help. I'm currently working with 2 outliers, providing monthly video editing, social media help. I've also worked on some one-off projects and have 2 calls this week to explore work. Thank you again for all your help earlier this summer. You've really helped me take off. I am telling you that not only did this make my day, my week, my month, my year, this is from a Gen Z who not only followed up and said thank you, he told me what he was up to and how my insights and inspiration and how our conversation changed the trajectory of what he decided to do with his life and his career.
The funny part about that, and the interesting part is, you and I were on our laptops in the morning, having a cup of coffee, laying in bed, and just catching up on things. And you were like, Kale, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful note that I just received. I took that note because it was so powerful, and it was so taking it to a level of game changing that I decided to write a LinkedIn post about it. So, and also we should say the Outlier Project is an amazing community. Shout out to Scott McGregor. It is a community we're part of, and actually one of the ways that we met. So I wrote a LinkedIn post about it because the work that I do is about helping people find their next opportunity. And what you described was something that you rarely see. And actually is maybe one of the game-changing things that anybody listening to this can start implementing into their life and open doors that they're struggling to get open. So I wrote then a post tagging the person who did it. He then set up time to be on a call with me, had such a wonderful conversation. I also have a Gen Zer in my house and watched her go through her process of finding her job after graduation this year. And it was so incredible. I introduced the two of them, by the way. Maybe there's a love match. No, just kidding.
Oh, you did?
I did. I introduced the two of them. So
I didn't know that.
I know, I forgot to tell you. So it was just so powerful and impactful. And it sounds like something so simple, but I think what's really interesting and statistically important for people to know is that only 10% of people follow up after receiving advice. 10%. And it's a number that really shook me. So statistically, this is happening, but I also feel it. I feel it every day because I meet about 20 to 25 new people a week. It's part of my business strategy. So it's me. That's how people find me. We have a coffee, we have a conversation to see if there's a connection and if they want to work with me. I have just this week specifically felt really terrible about the fact that so few people follow back up or so few people say thank you. And that's not why I do what I do. It's not why I put myself out there, but it just got in my craw a little bit. And thank you for talking me off the ledge, but you just can't underestimate that extra mile, that extra step, the postcard he sent you, the way he followed back up to say, here's, by the way, how
what I'm doing
impacted me. I'm going to say something that I think is important for people to think through. Most people over my career, if you come back to me being a CHRO, in 80% of conversations, people would walk into my office and say, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I know you're so busy. I'm not so busy. Just take this time. I wouldn't have said yes. So stop apologizing.
Right.
And we even talked about that last time.
But you know what? We'll get to that. I think that's a whole episode in and of itself because the sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
The sorry, not sorry. So I have some stats I want to share because I think that 10% of people follow up. Okay, so listen to this. I'm going to read. But business retention is the category. 50% fewer customers leave after receiving a handwritten note. Repeat purchase or donation, 38% or more likely to repeat purchase or donate after a thank you note. Okay, here's a big one, and you will love this because of what you do, and I think what a lot of people listening are up to. Job interviews. 80% of managers value thank you notes. 24% of seekers send them. 24%. 24%. So I'll give you a great story. So I was visiting with a couple of my family members, and my niece was looking for a job. She was looking for a job in a restaurant. And she said, nobody's calling me back. Every time I go in, they push me online. They want me to apply online. There's gatekeepers that won't let me talk to the manager. And I said, so are you applying? She said, I am. And then sometimes I get an interview. And I said, well, are you sending thank you notes? She's like, what? What do you mean sending thank you notes? That day I sat there with her. We wrote the thank you notes together. She got 3 job offers that week. 3. She stood
So,
out from everybody else.
yeah, so interesting. Maybe people haven't learned this, right? So fundamentally, I believe a thank you is pretty basic stuff, right? A text thank you, an email thank you,
Right.
basic. But in that case, she has probably not searched for so many jobs over her life. She didn't realize that was a thing. Thank goodness she sat with you and had that conversation, because it's all about learning and growing. And
Agreed.
that's the steps that we take. And so hopefully people listening can take something from this. That's the goal. You and I, every time we talk, no matter what the conversation, whether it's about what deo you're using, whether it's about what is the lip stain you're using, what is your favorite product, or what is getting in your way as a partner, as a mom, or whatever, we always take away something from it. So I'm hoping that people do as well. And yeah,
Agreed.
it's so simple, and it's free, and it's free, and it's free. It
Well,
feels
it
really
could be the
good.
cost of a stamp, which how much does a stamp cost these days? But you're right. It is free and it's easy. So I have another follow-up letter to read. This is today about me reading, but that same Gen Z who sent me that DM sent me a postcard last week from his favorite national park, which also happens to be mine, which is Joshua Tree. He just said, hey, Ricky, I wanted to thank you again for all your help getting my business off the ground. Your help with proposals, invoices. So he mentioned specifically what I helped him with, etc. Really helped me get started. I'll be going on my first business trip to a digital nomad conference in Argentina. Exciting things are happening. Hope you're doing well. Here's a postcard from my favorite national park. And he signed it. Okay, that postcard is on my refrigerator. And I'm
Incredible.
not sure that it will make it to the folder because it's probably going to stay there forever. Just,
Incredible. And the follow-up to that is we are hiring him to
oh,
edit our podcast. And I
right,
mean, like, this is how it works.
right.
What
And we're not
conversation
talking to
is
anybody
like,
else. There was no conversation around, should we
no.
go out for RFP? Should we explore others? No, we're just going to hire him, which, by the way, I do have a text from him with his Calendly link that I've not accessed yet. So I need to say thank you for sending it and get us
Yeah,
scheduled.
it's just a really beautiful story and a beautiful example. I want to lead us into a couple of things that
Hmm.
maybe are more personal. So, can you tell us, Ricky, about was there a coffee chat or a martini chat that led to a game-changing door opening for you over your life?
Ooh, leading the witness. I like it. I like it. So, if you all don't know, we do have these conversations in advance, and that's helped shape how we show up today. But we never know where it's going to go. But we do. This is an important one. So I did prep KL with this conversation. So there is someone in my life who I love dearly, who was my first client, is my sometimes client, is my sometimes business partner, which he is right now, and is always my friend. And that conversation started at these women's networking dinners in Seattle that's invite only. You guys can, anybody can DM me at any point if they're interested in learning more about these because they are fabulous. But we met for drinks before this dinner and started to have a conversation about our life and our loves and our businesses and what we were up to. And I was still fully employed in my agency life. And that martini chat then turned into going to the dinner. And then we snuck out early so that we could finish our conversation. But what I'll say is this: I'm eternally grateful for that conversation. I'm eternally grateful for the invite that she offered me a couple months before that. That was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And what I will say is that when I started my business in 2022, in April, going on 4 years, she was my first client. She was my first client. So not only did I completely blow up my career in 2019, I then went in-house to a company for 2 years that wasn't a fit, doesn't matter. Took a couple months just to figure out what the hell I was going to do. And she'd been calling me, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? One martini can change your life. She forever changed my life. We just pitched a huge piece of business this week. And that's not the first time we've pitched a huge piece of business together. So, like I said,
it's not the first martini champagne, as you know, a coffee chat that has changed your life. It's so beautiful, and I'm sure we can all think of them, and that business will just continue, and that friendship and that partnership will just
forever. And I'm so grateful for it. But those are the types of conversations and the types of connections that can change your trajectory forever. So I want you to tell your story, because it's crazy and I love it. And it's ridiculous how this stuff happens. So take it away, sister.
I love me a crazy story. So in 2009, 2009, I fell in love with a lovely gentleman from Germany who was in the US on a secondment. He ended up staying.
Come on.
It's like an expat, but not quite the same. It's sort of an expat. Yeah. So he was here. We both worked for BMW at the time. And he was, we fell in love in the very, very early stages. So we had 18 months and we really built a life together. He had to go back, and I wanted to go to Germany as an expat. Like, it was in my career plan that I wanted to go there anyway. So I happened to meet someone who had a sales job open. So for those of you that don't know, two decades of my career was sales and marketing, and 1 decade was HR. So I met this guy. He's like, Kale, let's do this. So I came to Germany. Reiner was with me, and we did a look and see trip. Basically, like, I had to get set up and get an apartment and get all that stuff. And I had to meet him and finalize the deal. So he gives me the offer, and it was the crappiest offer I think I've ever experienced. First of all, it was not an expat, which I could kind of understand, because I was going there, not just, it wasn't a personal reason to go there. I was obviously contributing to the company and was adding great value, but I was like, I could have lived with it not being an expat.
Right.
So it was a local contract, and it was an awful offer, 30% less than what I was making. But I said to him, listen, this is a sales role. I sold cards to pay for college. I trust my sales ability.
Right.
Show me the money, then close the gap with bonus. No problem. And he looked at me and he
said, I brightened up for a second. Sorry, go ahead.
You got excited about
my light is reflecting on when I like moments in your story.
Okay, well then it's going to go really dark in a second. So he said to me, Kale, unfortunately, I have to pay you the same as the guy sitting next to you surfing the internet all day. I can't do that. So I turned the offer down. I was devastated. I turned the offer down, and I was like, great, now I have to start from scratch. What are we going to do? Reiner's coming back to Germany. We're in the US. Like, we want to be together. I was really, really devastated. Reiner flew home that day, the day before. I happened to be sitting at his desk, and the phone rings, and it's his ex-girlfriend. And I was like, I am picking up this call.
Right.
What is she doing calling him? I was like, no, it wasn't, but it was a little bit. So I'm like, hello, Nicole. And she goes, oh, Carrie Lynn, I'm so glad you answered. I have a job opportunity for you. Are you at, you're obviously at X building.
So she was calling Reiner to tell him about a job opportunity for you.
For me. So I happened to answer the call. There's like 500 buildings in BMW. That's in Munich. There's their headquarters. And she's like, you're obviously at X building. I have a guy. He's on his way. I can send him to you. He can be there in 15 minutes. I said, send him to me. I'll meet him downstairs. Boom, go grab a coffee. 24 hours later, I had an expat contract in my hand. Total game changer. So the couple of interesting things about that phone call obviously changed my career. We moved to Germany. Came home with a herniated disc, not recommended. It was super, super heavy and a really hard time from a career perspective. But what was interesting was I let go of the outcome.
Come back from Germany, you have some sort of an injury.
This is true. Shoot, don't tell me that. We're going to end up.
Sorry.
So, but this was an interesting one. I let go of the outcome of the one that, even though I was like super devastated and I wasn't really trusting the process, I've come a long way since then. This closing the door on that actually opened the door on another. And it was one phone call that changed. And of course that he still has this beautiful relationship with this person who was in his life for a period of time, and that we were introduced. And it was just a really incredible incredible story. And I have more of those stories as you have, and we could go on all day, but I think it's more about the point.
Yeah, which is, it's always one person, one moment, and then bringing it all together with one follow-up, or in my case, multiple follow-ups from someone, but it makes the difference. So let's shift a little bit and talk about the gratitude rule of 3. I think it's important. It's going to feel like we're captains obvious right now. But I think it bears repeating over and over and over again. I was having a conversation on Saturday when I landed in Seattle with someone who I talk to on a regular basis. And he's done a variety of really nice things for me, like connected me to people, got me tickets to a show. I adore him. And what I realized is I say thank you. I did a post about him, right? I've done a variety of things, but I actually hadn't written him a note in any capacity. So we got off the phone. My dad picked me up and I sent him a note and I said, can you just please send me your address? So downstairs, sitting on my counter, are like 4 thank you notes to people I spoke with this week, because even I forget, even though we're here talking about it. I think I have pretty good manners. I was raised, please and thank you, but we all forget. So
Yeah.
I think that's why it bears repeating. And it's just 3 things. Right. And you'll see a theme here from the letters that I read, which is say thank you. Tell them what you did with it. You made my day. I got an interview. I went on a trip, whatever it was. I went to that restaurant and I ordered the ravioli, like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And you told me a story when we were on the phone the other day about your daughter, who I'd set her up with somebody at an arena in New Jersey. And you had asked her, have you followed up with him just to tell him where you landed and what's going on? And what did she say to you?
Well, we can, it's a
I
probably,
don't want to call her out, but I think the
it's a
notion
bigger
is
story. The way that she managed the process was really brilliant in
yes,
reaching out and say thank you. So she obviously said thank you to every single person she met.
Yes.
She sent you flowers as a result of that. So let's add that,
which you didn't even know about, which was
I didn't
so
even know about.
incredible.
Yeah. The follow-up part, I think, is the part where people might get a little bit more stuck, and that is, I don't want to waste their time. Like, I'm just some
Telling them what I'm doing
I'm
now.
just some random, like, they don't care. They don't care about that, mom. And I think, again, this is the teaching part, and that people do really care and it has meaning. And if they don't, and they don't respond, that's okay too. But that extra mile and in what you ended up doing, the fact that they gave you the time, I think, is the big thing. So
I agree.
let's repeat the gratitude rule of 3. And it's not captain obvious. If only 10% of people are following up, it's not.
There's 90% of people who are not following up. It's such a good point. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's say thank you, tell them what you did with it, and tell them what it created or what doors might have opened. And even if it hasn't opened a door yet, you can just say, I'm still on the search. I'm still, managing my way, and I haven't ever forgotten your conversation, and I'll keep you posted. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think I do it regularly either. So it's a great reminder, because even at our ripe, experienced age, we still need reminders too. And I think you and I are really good about reminding each other about that. I mean, it's easy between the two of us. I can follow up with you and say, I left you a message the other day, like the thing that you said to me has changed me fundamentally in a way. And you wrote me back and said, that's the single greatest message I've gotten.
Yeah. And we do that for each other. And I know we get busy, but I think what people are underestimating is that this is a multiplier effect. This is like, we're talking about 2 Gen Zers who got it right. And if they continue to get it right and they continue to foster those relationships 10 years down the road, all they have to do is pick up the phone with those relationships they fostered. This is how it's done. This is really how it's done. And how, look, you and I spent most of our career not ever applying for a job. And it's those phone calls. It's you don't only call when you need something. And you also, these 2 Gen Zers might not have anything to offer them, but maybe they do. And so ask it. Like, listen, is there anything I
Right.
can do to support you?
Right.
He might say, the head of the Prudential Center might say, you know what? I have twin daughters who are seniors in college, and I really loved how you managed your process. Would you be open to have a conversation with them on how you did it? You have something to offer. It doesn't matter what stage of the game you're in.
Exactly.
You always ask
Exactly.
that too, and then it's not
Exactly.
just I got fired. I need your help.
Right.
When that happens, it's of course it's an easier phone call because you've nurtured this relationship. So I want to move into something that actually really touched me many years ago. I read Adam Grant's book, Givers, Takers, and Matchers. And I want to just take a couple of things from here. For those of you that haven't read it, it's a really powerful book.
I haven't read it.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
I mean, the fact that we were
Well, give
talking
and
about
take.
it this morning, well, there's your thank you note to me for showing up today.
So look at this. Look at what
Okay.
we teach each other. I just love this
Oh, I
relationship.
love it. That's so good.
Okay,
I
so let's talk through it quickly. So takers lead with what can you do for me? I think it's
Mhm.
fairly obvious. They show up when they need something and then vanish when they're,
Yep. Yep.
we've all met them. They drain your time, energy, and probably patience. Matchers are the scorekeepers. They believe that
Tit for
everything
tat.
has to be even. I
Tit
can help
for tat.
you, you help me. By the
Right.
way, when I said that about saying, how can I support you? The person, I ask that question all the time. And sometimes the person's
Mhm.
like, just this conversation has been amazing. Like, I don't
Right.
need, there's nothing I need in the moment, but I'll think
Right.
about it. But you don't, that's not how you build connection, by keeping
No.
score. And then there are givers. And I will say, this is where the magic is, but givers can also have a dark side. But givers do lead with, how can I help? And they listen. They show up, they contribute, and they follow through. But the
There can
twist,
be a little martyrdom that seeps in there, right?
well, you
Because
talked about people pleasing last time, and
right.
what Adam
Right.
Grant found was that givers are both the most successful and the least successful because it comes down to boundaries and intention. And I will say, of all the people that I know, you are someone that has set really good boundaries. And I learn from this all the time. It's like, I can't say no to anyone new before till next year. Like, you will make these statements, and that is like, these are your boundaries. I say yes a lot, partly
Mhm.
because I know that I can help people. And so this is actually something I really need to learn. But um, you don't also, it needs to be strategic. It can't be a doormat, right?
No,
Um,
not at all. And it's when you have when your shadow self is about wanting to be liked. So it's really easy for me to say thank you and express gratitude,
yeah.
but I have to put boundaries around it. And I think your comment about my statement the other day is absolutely right. Like, I just can't say yes to anyone else until after the first of the year. But so if I get pinged for a coffee chat, I'm just really honest about it, right? I've
Yeah.
got 2 new projects starting. This is a conversation I would love to have. Let's schedule it for January when
Yeah.
I'm not having to reschedule you 3 times before the end of the year.
Yes. Oh, that's such a valid point. Yes. Thank you for that.
Because that's exactly what I'll do. I'll say yes because I don't want to make anyone feel bad, and I'm available,
I did that
and then I will
today.
reschedule them 3 times.
I did that today.
Yeah.
Nadine, I know you're watching. I did that today. I said yes, and it was a really packed day. And yes, okay, that is so helpful for me as well.
She's the queen of gratitude, just to be
I
clear.
know, I was just on her gratitude call. She's amazing. So yeah, so I think it's about just being a little bit more strategic and being really
Yeah.
thoughtful about it. But it actually brings me back to your Gen Z beautiful human. This kid wasn't a taker, he wasn't a matcher, and he didn't disappear after you gave him this beautiful
At
advice
all.
and didn't pop back in with a favor request.
No.
He took what you gave him, he did something with it, and then he circled back to thank you and tell
Mhm.
you the outcome. This is giver energy, and it's rare. And I believe this is why it's hitting us both so hard, specifically right now, but just in general. And I know we keep saying this, that one conversation can change your life, but it's actually the follow-up that creates your future.
It is hands
That's the
down.
that's the next step.
That is. So I have one more quick
Go,
story.
go.
Let me just interrupt you for a second because it's such a good one. So I sat next to this woman. I was having this conversation at lunch yesterday. I actually have 2 good stories, and I don't know if I'll get to both of them, but I sat next to this woman on the plane, I don't know, pre-COVID, right? So this is years ago. And I will engage with anybody and everybody, even if it's just for a couple of seconds to say hello when I sit down in my seat. I know there's a lot of people out there listening to this that will find this very surprising, but we talked the whole flight. And I couldn't remember her name, but afterwards she looked me up on LinkedIn, sent me a DM, thank you for making time, and just told me that I really inspired her, whatever I said. 5 years, 6 years go by, and she DM'd me earlier this year, and she said, I don't know if you remember me. Of course I did. I didn't remember her name, but I remembered her, and I remembered the conversation, and she set it up for me. We met on a plane. You gave me some really good advice. I just moved to Seattle. I remembered that you were in Seattle. I'm looking for a job. I don't know anyone. Would you be up for connecting? And you know what I said in 2 seconds? Absolutely, 100%. By the way, I made an introduction to a friend of mine who recruits for Microsoft, and she got the job. So not only did that one conversation on the plane make a difference, but she then followed up. And then 5 years later, it wasn't, or more, it wasn't even a question of if I would help her or not.
Yeah. Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
incredible.
Beautiful
It
story.
was incredible.
I want to also just say this our last podcast was an hour. We're trying to keep these to 30 minutes. So in interest of
Was that a shut your pie hole?
No, I would never tell you to shut your pie hole. I think you have such incredible wisdom and beautiful stories to share, but I want to be mindful of people's time and that we're keeping this a little bit tighter. So we like to leave every podcast with a challenge. So if you could reach out to one person who shaped something small or big for you, this is your time to do it. Tell them what you did with it. Tell them what it sparked. Close the loop and, look, keep showing up. Keep appreciating people and keep shooting the shit.
Shit.
Thanks for being with us, everybody. Thanks for being
Thanks,
here.
everybody.
You're
See you next
amazing.
week or so. Bye.
Love you.